4, 3.
Let's get them in front.
Oh, there we go. We do have sound. We are ready to go. Hello, everyone.
Can you guys come closer?
Group hug?
Group hug?
Or not.
And they're like, we don't care.
Maybe not.
Yeah, to the front.
Just fill up the spaces. It feels a little lonely up here.
Imagine that you are in the front crowd of like the best thing ever. Oh.
All right. So I'm Francesca Scotto. I'm CEO and founder of Innovators Institute, and I am a startup coach working with people like you who want to go from idea to money. And I'm here today to talk to you about ideas in the ideation phase with Jess.
Hi, and I am Jess. I am a family and child and wonderful therapist. A therapist that works with personality and growth, and teaching people how to become a more positive and more idea-focused for their future. And I am totally hot in technology. I'm CEO of Bloggers of Health, and we deal with, of course, mental health and health in general. And we do discussions of ideas through that also, and social media.
So we figured out that we were the best people actually to talk to you about ideation and innovation, because I'm an engineer turned coach and she's a therapist turned techie. So we have both traversed the gamut of roads and met here in the middle. And so we have so much to share with you about what it takes to be creative and innovative. And not only from a neuroscience standpoint, but actually from making things happen and moving your business forward. So that's what we're going to talk about today. We are completely tech savvy until we got here this morning and started playing with gadgets. So I think this is how we move forward. There we go.
All right.
All right. So the 6 phases of business modeling. I move around, so hopefully I won't clash too much with this. But the 6 phases of business modeling. For some of you, business planning might be the lingo. You write a business plan, you do your research, and you document it, and you do all of that. I actually like to talk to people about modeling their business and kind of thinking of it as clay, and as you go, you're shaping it, and sometimes you have to start over, but you don't leave the clay. You still have your clay with you. The very first phase, money, you're trying to make money, you're making no money. And this is ideation. This is what we're going to talk about today. Next, you're going to test your idea, and you start maybe making a little money as part of your test to see if people will buy. Then you start actually selling consistently, and that's the monetization phase, when you're making $1 on a consistent basis. This is what we all want, which is when you get to scale, you get momentum, and you just grow and grow and grow. Eventually, you stabilize at some phase where you're making really good money. It's not really a flat line, it's a zigzag. There's little innovations going on that keep you competitive. If you think of Coke or Nike or Burger King, they're all up here in a stability phase, and they're introducing new products, they're introducing changes to the menu at McDonald's, they bring out a new sneaker at Nike, right? But they're still in a stable phase. If you don't stay in an innovative state of mind, then you can actually go into decline, which is the last phase. Okay, so just to recap real quick, you start with ideation, what I call the push cart model. In the startup world, that could be MVP, your minimum viable product. Go into monetization, momentum, stability, and decline. Okay, we're gonna be talking about ideation today.
So some ideas of ideation are creativity, innovation, make a choice, focus, which allow you to focus, courage, and marketing intelligence.
Yes.
So creativity.
This is a quote we came across, and we thought it was very appropriate. The creative hunter must be intensely interested in solving a particular problem while having a laid-back attitude about finding a solution. And that's what we're going to talk about today. This is by Christopher Bergland, a neuroscientist. So creativity. Take it away.
Is the ability to produce something new through imaginative skills, whether a solution to a problem, a new method or device, or a new artistic objection or form.
When we think of creativity, imagine chairs, you're sitting on them. there's not a lot of innovation, which is the next thing we're going to talk about. You can be creative about color, about design, about functionality, about materials that you use. And there could be an innovative component to it, but the creativity process is about new ideas and allowing yourself to connect things that are unrelated.
And also finding your passions. What are your passions in general? What allows you to be creative? A lot of people, we were talking earlier about passions and how you have to find your passion and work with that. That's a big part of creativity, because once you have a passion, you have a drive. We'll talk more about that also. But then your fuel just starts to run and your motor starts to run and you keep on zooming in.
Yeah, exactly. So innovation is the introduction of something new idea, method, or device. Innovation doesn't happen in the body of the human or in the brain. Innovation is actually the process of implementing something that has been created. Okay?
For an issue or something that you see the need to be either fixed or acknowledged or foreseen later.
Yeah. So innovation is the result of the creativity that happens inside of our mind, inside of our brain. And the reason why it's important to distinguish that is sometimes we think of innovation as the goal. And innovation in and of itself, I'm sorry, backwards. We think of creativity as the goal. And creativity is it's a natural ability that we have. It's something that we do. The goal is not creativity, the goal is innovation from a business perspective. What you want to do is innovate. What you want to do is be able to take that creative idea all the way into the market. And that's where innovation takes place. Creativity is sort of the exercise and innovation is the result.
Something that we can parallel with is, for example, kids who go through some sort of issue in their lives. Play therapy, literally them playing, is actually them healing. So that can give you a little parallel as to how what we already have can help you later.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So tips for increasing creativity. We're going to spend some time here to really make it practical for you. So allow this to be interactive. If you have questions about these as we go along, do ask, let us know what your challenge is, and we're here to do some laser coaching and therapy on the spot. We even have tissues for people that cry. Okay, we're ready for you.
We will make you cry though.
The first tip is don't force it. Right? I'm so guilty of this myself, and I have to remind myself. Sometimes I'm in the middle of wanting to maybe write a script, or maybe I'm writing a lesson. I do a lot of teaching on entrepreneurship, and so I sit there and I'm like, I want this to blow their minds. I can't come up with anything. I can, and you just sit there and you're like, I gotta do this, and it's gotta be great, and it's gotta, and so forcing it actually blocks your ability to come up with something new. So if you're in that space where you can't come up with something that is creative or that fills the need, or you can't get the juices flowing, literally walk away. The process of walking and physical activity is going to reconnect neurons. It is going to create new paths in your brain. It's going to stimulate chemical reactions that will give you the energy and sort of the juice, literally, to come up with something different that you have not been able to come up with so far.
And those rely on what are endorphins and everything that you set up. For example, when you're doing the whole fight or flight model, if you're going to keep on going, then keep on going and your body just goes along with you. But once you chill and sit down, you're able to relax more and you're able to decrease all of those stressors that are bottling you up so that you won't be able to do that. Mm-hmm. So part of walking allows your body, your body and your muscles to receive air so they can fully relax and your brain chemicals start to work better as opposed to just swiring around, going bonkers.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as a coach, I always talk to my clients about Gail. She's not nice. We don't like Gail. Gail is composed of limiting beliefs, and it's ideas that we have about what's possible. So we sit there and we're like, well, that can't work, or that can't be. And we decide before engaging in the creative process what the results can be, because we have these beliefs about what is possible. So one of the things that we have to detach from is the limiting beliefs. And you don't know exactly what they are unless you're engaging in that process. That's why working with a coach is so good and so important. We also have interpretations. You know, something happens, I don't know, we're creating an app and something didn't work, and automatically it's, oh, my code, I messed up. Meanwhile, it's like the server's down, right? So the interpretation, the way we interpret the feedback that we're getting is very important. Sometimes it's not what we think it is.
It's like a relationship when a guy and a girl talk to each other and sometimes they don't understand each other and they're discussing all the time and you're like, ah, but then eventually you end up having a 2-minute conversation where this is what I mean and this is what I mean. Then you find to realize that, oh, look, it comes together.
Yeah,
Makes
absolutely.
sense.
And another thing about interpretations, and it goes with assumptions, is sort of assuming that what happened before is going to happen again. Okay, so it didn't work before, so it's not gonna work this time. And it might not be necessarily the code or the app or whatever, but even the business model. Maybe in the past, the market wasn't ready for something, but now the market is ready. And so just by trying again, you'll have much more success by allowing yourself that flexibility. One of the things, and it's really interesting how you phrased it, you know, we are in relationship with our business. Mm-hmm. We truly are. And so sometimes the business needs us to be patient, but we want it right now.
Right.
And that impatience blocks the opportunity to come up with a really good solution just by giving ourselves time in that space that is so uncomfortable.
And remember that assumptions are the cause of all screw-ups.
Yes.
I won't say the word.
Yes, absolutely. My last piece of Gail is the gremlins, and that's what I call them. They're like these little monsters that hide in the night, and if you feed them, they like grow and they become ferocious. Gremlins are the deepest inner critic. And that, believe it or not, is one of the biggest blocks to creativity. It's the part of us that tells us that we're not good enough, that we can't make this happen, you're never going to figure it out. And so in the process of trying to figure something out, you talk to yourself against finding the solution that you're working towards.
You sabotage it.
You sabotage it.
Right. And a part of that is because we are insecure, we don't have any money to work with, we're starting something new. And always when you're starting something new, there's always that type of fear that you're going through, right? So this is where you combat your fear. This is where you stand up and your self-esteem, you look in the mirror and you go, all right, I can do this. And this is like an everyday thing. Now remember, it takes 27 days to start believing or doing something. Well, believing yourself takes 27 days sometimes too. So you have to look in the mirror and say, I'm gonna do this, I can do this, I can do this. And it's about your thinking also. When you're thinking, you have to remember that if you say, I think I might do it, as opposed to I'm going to do it, you're setting yourself up for that. If you're setting yourself to think that you're going to do it, then you're setting yourself up that you're going to think. But if you're setting yourself up to do, you're actually going to start doing. And part of the mentality is that you start doing things and make things happen, as opposed to, I think I'm going to make this happen. You're going to go, no, I'm going to make this happen, and it's going to be done.
Yeah, and your brain has a way of actually making it happen, causing it to be, which is one of the things that Jess is going to cover in a minute when it has to do with sleep and self-care and what happens in our brain when we are detached completely from what is.
Right.
So
part of sleep is everybody knows about sleep, right? If you don't sleep, your body can't really fully rest, right? You're always on the go. Part of sleep, what happens is that your body literally relaxes. The first, I think it's 15 seconds before you go to sleep, is when your mind is literally at peace. So you keep on going, and when you're sleeping, you're allowing those neurons to rejuvenate your body, to allow the flow to go. And this is where we come back to self-care, because once you start believing and thinking, this is why a lot of therapists put, the sound sleep before or positive thinking before, because believe it or not, even when you're asleep, your body is still working. Your mind is still working, not at the capacity that we're at now, but it's still working and it's replenishing. So you want to replenish your body. You want to allow it to work for you, because if you don't allow yourself to work for you, you won't be able to work for your company. You won't be able to work for everything else that you're doing. Again, it's all based on chemicals. Our body is a machine. We need a well-oiled machine. And our chemicals allow us to move. And going to sleep allows us to rejuvenate.
Something that happens during REM rapid eye movement sleep is that the brain starts making connections between totally unrelated ideas and concepts. That's why some of the dreams are so weird, right? You're like, I'm walking, but I'm walking on water, right?
Or I'm drowning, I'm about to fall.
Right. Or like I walked into a room, but it was a different building altogether, because your brain in that space is not constrained by reality. It's actually just connecting ideas and allowing those to form concepts rather than tangible, realistic processes, let's say. So if you want to, one of the exercises I do with clients, actually I call it the miracle day. It's like the day that everything was solved. And what we do is the night before, during those 15 seconds before you go to sleep, the thought that you go to sleep with is the problem you want to solve. Okay? And so you allow your brain to kind of go to sleep on that thought and allow your brain to solve the problem while you're sleeping. And so you'll be surprised what happens the next day. You wake up, and as a result of allowing your sleep to take you there, you might come up with all these new ideas. You wake up and it's like, okay, I have new insights. It might not be the solution, but it might be new insight as to how to find a solution.
And new pathways that allow you. And then again, when you remember in the beginning we said take a walk. Part of taking a walk is allowing your surrounding, your environment to let you think on what you slept on. So you technically, subconsciously, you don't know what's going on. I mean, unconsciously, sorry. Subconsciously, your body understands it a little bit better. And then that's when your ideas start to flow.
Yep. One of the things that Jess is really big on is working with others and making sure that you don't stick to just you, your dream, your glass of water, your computer.
Yeah, you have to be careful with that, of course. But working with others, for example, if I wanted to come up with an idea, and we're going to work on that a little bit right now, or a little later. But if I wanted to come up with an idea, we would be like, so now what? And then sometimes we get stuck, but having another person help us always brings in a better, the two heads are better than one. That always helps with the idea process with building anything that you do. Because sometimes their ideas are better, believe it or not. And it's hard to hear, but sometimes their ideas are way better. And sometimes your ideas can suck a little bit. And that's okay. Because what you want to do is that you want to grow and you want to put it out there. You want to make it happen. And you want to get in that line where you're up here and you're in movement and you're going up.
Yeah. One of the things about working with other people that helps the creative process is to not marry the idea, but to stick with the vision.
Yes.
And so when you can own the vision, feedback that comes in through that creative process with other people allows you to see that as more material to make the vision possible. So that way you still own the idea, not the idea itself, but you own the vision of the problem you're trying to solve, and it allows you to stay, I have this thing, people kind of get control freaky sometimes. It's okay, I'm there like...
I've been there, I understand it. You're like, wait, hold on, this is my idea.
So it allows you to own something that can't be taken away, right? Your vision won't change. You can stick to your vision regardless of how you're going to achieve it. And that allows you to involve people with much more ease.
I totally agree with her, because once you start allowing people in, you have to stick to your vision. So something that I can tell you personally what happened when I was starting my business is I was letting all of these people in because I'm nice, right? And I like to be nice and help others. Let's grow together. And then they started changing my vision. And in my heart, I was like, okay, it's not going the way I want it to, but I like this idea, I like this idea, I like this idea. And then I started saying, okay, you know what? Let's stick to the vision. And if you're not sticking to the vision, then you're just not going to work with me, plain and simple.
Yeah.
And you have to be cut and dry sometimes. You have to learn how to let go. And if people will know that they're not part of what you're doing, because they'll be like, well, she's not letting me really do this because it's not sticking to your vision, which is very much why we have to do business plans.
Yeah.
Mission and vision is part of that. So stick to your vision, and then make sure. One thing that I've learned also is that development, there's always going to be a lot of things. For example, if your company is doing a social media toolbox, and there's so many things out there, so many things. You literally have to stick to whatever you're going to stick to at first. Learn that toolbox, whatever you're going to choose, because you can't choose everything at once, right? You have to stick to small goals to get to the bigger goals. And then you stick to that and you keep on going. And then from there, then you can move on and advance. But always make sure that you develop your main idea first.
Now, using the 5 senses is also a great way to fire up different parts of the brain and to stimulate those connections, that unsuspected relationship that the brain makes between things that are seemingly unrelated, right? So when you're activating the 5 senses, it allows you to do that. And there are different ways of doing that. I'm sure you can come up with an example.
Yeah.
One thing that I do that works for me, and I don't know if it works, for everybody, but I actually change space. So if I'm in my house and I'm sort of frustrated and I don't know what I'm doing, I might go outside and experience sunshine. For example, the heat, the change in temperature just does something to me. Another thing that I really love doing, I actually live in Florida. I'm close to the beach, and I'll just go and sit in the sand. And I know it sounds gross for some people, but for me, it's like putting my feet in the sand. The sensation is so different that it just, it actually makes me uncomfortable. Yeah, but it puts me in a different thought process. And so sometimes that gets me going because it puts me in an uncomfortable space where I have to solve that incongruency inside. And it really does work for me. But for other people, it might be, eating a different kind of food, or it might be the glass of water, or instead,
listening to music, for example. In the morning, a lot of people don't connect emotions with music, but there's a lot of connection with that. So if you start your day in a positive with some sort of like your favorite song or something like that, that connects to what you're doing, automatically you're allowing your body to hear, feel, and it starts to motivate you a little bit. And then you're walking around with your music, so you're using the feeling, the touch, and then you just start using everything, again, going back to the walking. So you can add music, you can add something that works with your idea. For example, if you're working with children in Zimbabwe, you put Zimbabwe music on, right? And you start walking, and then you keep on going. But part of the idea is to integrate that into your everyday so that you can get even more ideas.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And then also, never forget that there's a 6th sense, and that's your instinct. Instinct is number 1. Because if you know in your heart that you're doing this for good for others, and
it's worth doing.
It's worth doing.
Yeah, absolutely. So at the end of the day, we don't want to stay in the ideation phase. We really want to get to the point where we're testing the idea and we're trying to see if it's viable. So at some point you have to make a choice. For people like me who just love planning and just love ideas, and that's what I do, it's really hard, not necessarily to make a choice, but to stick with it and to decide, okay, I am gonna nurture this baby into maturity. Mm-hmm. It's hard because that means I can't stay in my creative space. But unless you do that, you're never gonna get to monetization. And so it takes courage to do that, because you have to say no to a lot of other potentially great ideas. But at some point you have to kind of take the risk and say, I'm gonna put my eggs on this basket. Now, you're also gonna need market intelligence. And that's not research at the library. It really comes down to knowing the right questions to ask the right people. So it's finding the right people and not being afraid to going up to them and asking them what it is that you need to know in order to evaluate this idea. And we're gonna cover 5 questions in the next slide that you should be asking. But then there's also other traits that impact the other phases as you move along. Again, creativity is really important in that ideation phase, but as you move along the phases of your business growing, you're gonna have to develop other skills: leadership, management, financial documents, understanding, financial language. You're gonna need to know how to find a partner or maybe pitch to investors. So there's gonna be a lot of other skills that you'll need to develop. And if you stay in the creative phase too long, then you won't be able to exercise those other skills.
And within that process, you're still being creative.
Absolutely.
So think about it in the way like, yes, my creativity is a little different now, but it's changing. It's being more creative on how I'm allowing my business to grow. For example, now I get to choose what kind of building I want to get. So when my company is up and booming, what color do I want the chairs to be? That alone is creative. So you will always have that creativity. It's how you reframe it to yourself. It's how you're going to change it to yourself, and how are you going to say, well, I'm still being creative. How am I going to be creative with what I have now? Mm-hmm. And stay focused on the idea again.
Yeah, for sure. So viability versus scalability. the first thing that you're trying to do with an idea so that you can choose one is decide if it's viable. Who knows what viable means?
Via means
Can it work? And what does that mean? Can it work? How do I know that it's working? I have one criteria.
what is it?
Am I going to make enough money? Right? If there's no market for this, then this is not the idea. I might love it. I might do it for me. But this is not the one I'm going to go to bat with. So these are the 5 questions that I tell people to ask themselves and to reach out and call those subject matter experts in that industry and ask them these questions, okay? How many people are in pain? The pain being whatever it is that you're trying to solve. And so it's sort of understanding if there's a big enough market. Are there even enough people in pain right now? How much does it hurt? So on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this? On a scale of 1 to 5, however you want to engage, I actually gauge the intensity of this. And so how can you take away the pain? Specifically you, how would you take away the pain from this, million people or 500,000 people or whatever that is? Now, 4th question, how much is it going to cost you to take away the pain?
This is very important because you're putting yourself in your ideas. So remember that when it's not only tangible with money, it's tangible with your time, it's tangible with your family, it's tangible with anything around your environment and yourself, your body. How much time are you going to invest in this? So that's very important to think about. It's not just money, it's also yourself and your family.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot that we pay
Right.
for our business. It's not just the actual overhead cost. There's a opportunity cost. It's the time that you could be with family, that you could be getting that PhD that I'll get one day. It's all of that. It's all worth something.
Right.
And then finally, how much are they going to pay you so that you can take away that pain?
And this is when your ideas start flowing with other business owners or other communication and networks. When you start talking to people a little bit more, is what are you going to get out of this? And literally your mindset starts to become your CEO of your company. What am I going to get from this? And by meaning, what am I? What is my company going to invest in? What is my company going to get? So it has to be a reciprocation. Coming in, coming out. What's going to happen? Is something going to happen? And if nothing's going to happen, then really there isn't anything like that, right? Another example, a relationship. You're dating a girl, right? You're going to take her out to dinner. Because you want the focus for some men that they want to marry, right? So you want a woman who's going to be a wifey and be the lady next to you. But if you don't really want that, then you're really not going to go all out and do all that awesome stuff, right?
You're not going to invest.
You're not going to invest your time. Again, your business is your relationship.
For sure. Now, here's the difference. Scalability has to do with growth. A lot of times, technology allows us to grow the wrong thing. It's very easy to scale in the sense that, I can create a website, 5 minutes, got it. So no exercise. That's it, you're not walking. I can say. So you get to this point where you can grow and you just need users. You just need a bunch of people to come to your site, and maybe you're thinking, I can scale this. I know how to do that technically. But because we don't talk about viability, there's not enough people in pain. They're not willing to pay. The business model piece is not in place. And so you won't grow. It won't scale. Not because you can't do it technically, but because the idea hasn't been fleshed out enough. So once you have that in place, you can ask yourself, well, how am I going to grow this? And it might not even be the technology. It might be something that happens offline. Who knows? But at that point, it doesn't matter. Someone's willing to pay, and there's enough of them willing to pay that you can actually have a viable business.
Very viable business, especially in technology nowadays.
And apparently that was the end.
That's it. See, we were on time.
Just in time. Questions. You have 5 minutes. Go.
Bring it.
Or not.
Or not.
Sure.
Maybe you can share some examples of when you do reach out to these experts.
Mm-hmm.
You feel that you're expert. I know that part of my old job required to actually reach out. And I know from reading books that it's pretty much patronizing to them, talking to, hey, you do a good job. Do you have examples of
Here you go. Hi, I'm Jess.
Yes.
How are you doing? I'm Jess.
Yes.
And I know that
Yes or Jess? No, just kidding.
both. You say yes to Jess. You see where my name came from. You see where I love my name. See, that's marketing already. And then you just talk to people. Are human with them. A lot of people forget the need of being a human with people. And that's very, very need-based, but also not too talkative. Hola, ¿cómo está? You know, because some people...
All Hispanic on them, yeah.
Some people have the bubble around them, you know, so you have to be cautious with you have to know your person. And now it's easy because you have Google and you can Google them, right? So now it's easy to know who you're talking to nowadays. So, you know, you can find out who they are and make sure if they're okay with the Google stepping in or not. You know, are you in the bubble? Are you not in the bubble? Hi, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. If they're interested, they're interested. If they're not interested, they're not interested. Plain
I
and
would
simple.
say it's
Sometimes.
also, I would answer that in two ways. One, it's a numbers game. Okay? You don't need to talk to the CEO of Google to get insight into advertising business models online, right? There are different people, even within Google, that you could access. So I would say, how many people have you reached? And how, you know, what is your approach to actually making contact? So that's the first thing. And then the second one is the human element. I think part of what happens with us techies is that we think we can do everything with a computer. And when I don't have a huge brand behind me, the doors are gonna open when I physically go and knock on them. Okay? So if I'm working for IBM or for HP or, you know, whatever, then I can walk into any major enterprise, and that's who I am. I'm representing that brand, and the door opens kind of, ta-da, you know, and I walk in. When I don't have that, I have to physically work my way into those circles, and that's where networking comes in, and being very strategic about networking.
Very strategic.
Coach people, you know, sometimes they're like, you just go everywhere, you have to be everywhere. Hell no, I don't have enough time.
Yep. You have to put your life in perspective on that one.
Yeah.
Because networking can, get you everywhere, and it can get you nowhere. Because you can just get to know a lot of people, but it's better to get to know a certain amount of people that can get you somewhere, as opposed to just knowing the whole hood, right?
Absolutely.
So, always be cognizant of that.
Any more questions? We'll be here until they kick us out. Oh, you're welcome.
Oh.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what's the business plan? Is that like the
What's a business plan? It's
The business plan is typically, you can even find it online. There's templates that you can fill out. The business plan, if you ask Francesca, it's an academic research project, and it's a good exercise because it gives you understanding on market size, and it can answer some of those questions like how big is the pain and how many are in pain, and you know, it gives you that kind of insight. However, the business plan, by the time you finish it, it's
revamped all
probably
over again.
obsolete because new statistics came out and new information is out. So the business plan is it's a document that explains what you're trying to do to someone that is potentially going to buy your business or invest in your business.
Right. So something that I personally went through is I built my business first because I had a passion for it, right? I have a passion for what I do. I love it. And then I realized, I was like, oh, I need a business plan. Why? Because there's other companies that work with detailing your business. But now that my company is built, it's able to literally cut and paste from my internet, you know, just like cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste. And then you just put it in your business plan. A business plan is like a 12-page proposal to somebody, meaning your vision, your mission, your monetary values, showing a little bit about yourself, showing a little bit about what you're doing, how you're gonna do it, where you're gonna do it, the who, why, what, where, when, how. All of those are answered in a business plan.
There's an excellent book by Jim Moran. It's called The One-Page Business Plan.
Ooh,
It's excellent, and that's a very dynamic document that you can keep changing.
right.
Okay.
About 15-page, and then it's obsolete, like you said, you have.
Right, it's
Yeah.
too much.
business model canvas?
Yeah, that one's a good one.
That's another one, yeah, business
Yeah.
model generation. That's the book, and then the canvas is the actual tool.
But if you're a first-time learner, if you really want to do all that, I personally I love research, but I don't want to do all that writing. I just put it on the website. And then get my LLC and then have someone else do that for me.
Yeah, yeah,
You can also on YouTube and look at videos on how to write business plan.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, definitely.
Sure.
Do you guys have any
Did
more
we
questions?
super answer your question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have more questions?
I guess you're saying something about 27 days.
Changing new habits.
Your habits? Yeah, it's your habits that you change. And part of being an entrepreneur is that you start getting these either negative habits or good habits. And we want to stay on the good habits because when you're going into, you don't want to start drinking in the morning and then not being able to recognize what's going on for the rest of the day, right? You want to start recognizing what's going on in the rest of the day and then going forward and living your life. Another thing that I talk about is when you focus, when you give yourself a regimen. For example, I do yoga in the mornings. I wake up, feed my dog because I love Buddy. And I do yoga and I do a regimen in a way that is very flexible for my company. So I'm able to let it grow. But within myself, I keep myself ready and prepared for whatever comes to me. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Bloggers of Health, and she is?
Innovators Institute.
So.
Is it for fun or you just
What, my business? Is it for fun?
like when you first started?
Well, I have fun. Okay, so this is how I'll answer that question. If it's not fun, I wasn't going to do it.
Right, I'm the same way.
So, was it always like that? No. I mean, I did really boring stuff like electrical distribution and control. I did that for some time because I, was out of college and I was putting my engineering degree to work. So, I think part of what happens with the new generation is that you've been sold this idea that somehow it's not worth doing unless it's fun. Mm-hmm. And I would put it backwards. I would say if it's worth doing, do it anyway.
Because it'll be fun.
Because it's worth doing. And that kind of gratification is really going to take you much further than fun. So I make it fun. I build fun into it. I believe in what I'm doing, and so I'm doing it in ways that are fun for me.
It's a belief. It's whatever your passion is. However, you have to be tangible with your own lifestyle. What kind of lifestyle do you want to live? Do you want to be having fun all the time and not having money? Or do you want
The fun ends, bro, let me tell you.
Because then you're going to be a cup of noodles, and you don't want to be doing that all day, right? You want to be able to go to Mr. Chow's and have a good dinner and hang out with your friends, right? So what you do, make sure that it's tangible, that you're able to do it, feel it, make it happen, and it's going to pay you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
More questions?
I think our time's up.
No, it's not. Did they kick you out?
I like you. See, this is why we work good together, because we're still here talking.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
And they're kicking us out now.
Yeah, now it's official. All right.
Oh, yay.
We like pictures.
Oh, can you do my phone too while you're at it?